You've just entered the Bear Report, your digital zone for all things Chicago Bears. Bear down. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you watched the last game, you might feel like you just survived something pretty intense, maybe less like sports and more like, I don't know, chaos.
Yeah, chaotic's a good word for it.
We're diving into a win that, honestly, almost defied logic, 25-24. And somehow, that gets the team to 2-2 heading into the bye week.
It really does sum up the feeling watching it, doesn't it? That sort of whiplash. It was messy, stressful, and frankly, it feels a bit like a miracle they pulled it out.
Right.
So this deep dive, it's not really about celebrating, beautiful execution. It's about digging into that resilience.
Okay.
Because the sources, they show this huge contradiction, 4 massive takeaways by the defense gifts, really, and yet the game still came down to a single point.
1 point.
So our mission here is to figure out how they managed to win such an ugly game. Let them do that.
Let's start with just how ugly it was, especially that first half. The offense was, it was a slog. I mean, 90 total yards at halftime. 90. And the running game, it was basically non-existent.
Yeah, the numbers were staggering.
I actually had to double-check the box score. 12 carries for 2 yards in the first half. 2.
It's almost harder to do that than gain positive yardage. Yeah.
Exactly. You just can't survive in professional football getting less than a foot per carry. But somehow they did.
And while the offense was stuck in mud, the defense, well, they were getting gashed on the ground, which kind of created this perfect storm of failure that they somehow navigated.
Yeah.
They gave up 240 rushing yards overall. And yet, kind of talk about Ashton Ginty, he was just running wild.
Oh, yeah.
21 carries, 130 yards for him, and that killer 64-yard touchdown run.
Brutal.
Allowing 7.4 yards per play overall. I mean, that screams defensive breakdown. It really should have been a blowout loss based on that.
It wasn't. And that's the crazy part, the real paradox of this game.
Yeah.
The defense, while getting run over, was also incredibly heroic in creating turnovers.
Absolutely. They kept fighting back.
Those 4 total takeaways are basically the reason this victory happened at all. They were like life support.
Yeah. Kevin Yard grabbing 2 interceptions. That was huge. And Tyreek Stevenson.
Wow.
That sequence was amazing.
Yeah. The interception and the forced fumble recovery, just pure athletic play and hustle. These were massive game-altering moments that gave the offense fantastic field position.
Which, okay, brings us to the really frustrating part of that first half and even bleeding into the second. They wasted those gifts. 5 possessions starting in opponent territory. 5. And what did they get out of it?
Not nearly enough.
1 touchdown and 3 field goals. I mean, multiple drives actually went backwards.
Exactly. The inefficiency was just baffling. That drive ending with the Max Crosby interception or deflection interception in the red zone, that was maybe the most painful example.
Oh, absolutely. Poised to score, maybe take control, and just turnover.
Yeah. And that play, plus you got to mention Cole Kmet having a really rough game.
Yeah, he did.
The false starts, the drops, it just felt like one of his worst games overall. And those penalties were absolute drive killers in a game this tight. So, okay, the team's playing sloppy, giving up huge chunks on the ground, not cashing in on turnovers. That kind of chaos, it must have forced the coach's hands, right?
I think so.
Which leads us nicely into section 2. The coaching staff making some pretty risky adjustments, maybe even terrifying ones.
This is where Coach Johnson really had to step up, I think. We're moving from just describing the mess to looking at the maybe desperation moves, the gamble that really shifted things.
Let's unpack that offensive line shuffle first.
Yeah.
Because, wow, on paper, that sounds incredibly reckless.
It does.
They benched Braxton Jones, the starter. But not at halftime, which you might expect. They did it near the 2-minute warning of the first half.
Right. Pulled the trigger mid-chaos. And here's the really tricky part, the thing you, the listener, need to kind of get your head around. It wasn't just swapping one guy out.
No, it was a whole rearrangement.
Exactly. A full realignment. They took Benedict from right tackle, moved him all the way over to left tackle, and then they threw the rookie, Ozzie Trapillo, straight into the fire at right tackle.
Hold on. So that's like a double move on the line, right? Changing 2 spots at once mid-game. Isn't that usually seen as like coaching malpractice almost? because it risks destabilizing everything up front.
It is incredibly risky. Absolutely. You could definitely call it reckless. But, sometimes panic or calculated desperation works when what you're doing is just failing so badly.
So is it panic or calculation?
Maybe a bit of both. The calculated part, I think, was the result they hoped for. They were willing to expose Crapillo, the rookie, to Max Crosby one-on-one, a huge ask.
Massive.
Hoping that just shaking things up, the whole shuffle, would somehow balance out the protection overall. And the crazy payoff. In the goal quarter, Crosby was basically a non-factor. That new line configuration somehow neutralized him.
Wow.
It showed Johnson was willing to do something drastic right then and there instead of just sticking with a plan that clearly wasn't working, not being fatalistic about it.
That willingness to pivot, that kind of aggressive, high-stakes gamble, it's really interesting. And you could almost see that tension in some of the play calls, too, couldn't you? Like that fake flea flicker, the stumble play.
Oh, the theatrics on that. Yeah, that was brilliant. DeAndre Swift fakes the pitch back. Williams does that little jump, maybe playing off a mistake from last week, trying to mess with the defense's reads.
Using their own recent history against them.
Exactly. It was a smart piece of, psychological warfare and play design. Didn't count because of a penalty, unfortunately, but it showed they were trying everything thinking outside the box.
And maybe most importantly, the quarterback seemed to respond well to all this tension and risk. Williams really seemed to find his composure after the coaches made their big move.
Yeah, his growth within the game was obvious if you look at the stats. That passer rating jump from a pretty miserable 47.0 in the first half up to 111 in the second, that's huge.
Night and day.
And it wasn't just passive. Coach Johnson apparently went to him right before that final drive and said something like, "This is what you're built for." Giving him that vote of confidence after the early struggles, after the O-line chaos. I think that says a lot about Williams' mental toughness. He kept his focus when everything was swirling around him.
Focus they absolutely needed for Section 3. The clutch finish. Let's talk about that game-winning drive.
Okay.
11 plays, 69 yards. They're down 24-19. And it ends with DeAndre Swift just powering it in for the go-ahead touchdown. Great moment for him, too, considering how tough the running was earlier.
Phenomenal finish to the drive. But, with this team, it's never simple, is it?
Never.
They're left 40 seconds on the clock, and you know the history, you know this feeling. This is usually the point where everything goes wrong. The air just gets sucked out of the stadium.
Yep, here we go again.
The Raiders get the ball back quickly. Their kicker, Daniel Carlson, he's really good. He's lining up for a 54-yarder to win it. Historically, this is exactly where this team breaks your heart. It felt almost inevitable.
But this time, it wasn't inevitable. This time was different. And this is the real gem, isn't it? The secret detail that makes this win feel, earned in a weird way.
Totally.
That blocked field goal by Josh Blackwell, who, remember, was an undrafted waiver claim that wasn't just luck. It wasn't him just diving in there hoping for the best.
No, not at all. It was pure preparation meeting that perfect opportunity. It comes down to the special teams coordinator, Richard Hightower. Apparently, he runs a really tight ship.
Okay.
He gives his specialists homework every week, watching film, looking for tiny edges, opponent tendencies, and their long snapper, Scott Daly. He found something.
You found something on the Raiders snapper.
Exactly, on Jacob Bobenmoyer. Daly identified this really specific, tiny little tell.
What was it? What was the tell? This is the good stuff.
Okay, get this. It was a slight tilt. It's the tiny fractional tilt of the football right before he snapped it.
No way. A tilt.
A tilt. Daly spotted it on film, reported it back, and they drilled Blackwell. Watch for that specific tilt.
So the entire game, this whole ugly, chaotic win, potentially comes down to the long snapper noticing a tilt.
Pretty much. Blackwell knew that tilt gave him maybe a fraction of a second jump. He timed his sprint off that specific cue. The sources even say Hightower called the block in his headset before the snap because he was that confident in the prep.
That's incredible.
And the significance, right, it's huge. A massive win, secured because of the attention to detail by, let's be honest, maybe the 40th most popular guy on the roster, Blackwell, and the long snapper. It just proves that deep-level preparation across the whole organization actually matters. It pays off.
The ultimate details matter story. Special teams really won it over offensive consistency that day. Okay, so they stumble, fight, and prep their way into the bye week at 2-2. What does this messy win actually mean big picture? Section 4, the bye week decision.
Well, first off, it means they bought themselves some breathing room. Being 2-2 feels worlds different than 1-3, doesn't it? It changes the whole narrative around the season, at least for now.
Definitely keeps things afloat.
And maybe, just maybe, it breaks that narrative that they can't finish close games. They finally held on in one of those heart attack moments. But look, let's be realistic here.
Okay.
This is still probably a mid-team, right? Projections are maybe 7, 8, 9 wins. The sloppiness is still there. And critically, Caleb Williams, despite the second half improvement, still seems to struggle with accuracy on some key throws.
Yeah.
Especially those 15 to 22-yard passes, the ones that really separate the good QBs from the franchise guys. That needs serious work.
That inefficiency and the general messiness, it puts Coach Johnson in a tricky spot for the bye week, doesn't it?
For sure.
Does he reward the team for the gritty win with extra time off? Or, given how sloppy it was, and especially needing that new O-line combo Benedict and Trapilla to gel, does he demand they keep working?
I mean, demanding work feels almost essential, right? You
Yeah.
can't really make that massive O-line gamble, potentially claim you've found something with that new tackle setup, a setup that only played one half together, mind you, and then just give them a week off.
Good point. Need reps.
That successful risk needs to be solidified, stabilized. They beat a team they should have beaten, frankly, and they did it ugly. If they really think they found a way to handle elite rushers like Crosby, they have to keep that momentum going.
So, practice during the bye.
Yeah, I'd think maybe Wednesday, Thursday practices at least. Got to cement that chemistry up front if this is going to be the plan moving forward.
Right. The risk Johnson took needs follow-through. You can't gamble like that and then just retreat.
Yeah.
Okay, so wrapping up this whole chaotic, kind of fascinating deep dive, this 25-24 win, it wasn't pretty execution. It was more a victory of, competitive grit and incredibly detailed special teams prep.
Precisely. Resilience and preparation over clean play. And maybe that leads us to the final provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay, let's hear it.
Coach Johnson took a huge risk. Benching a starter, shuffling 2 O-linemen mid-game like that aggressive choice to do something instead of just accepting failure, it defined this win. So the question is, will seeing that gamble pay off encourage more of that aggressive, maybe unconventional decision-making down the road? Or will the pressure, the near disaster, make him pull back and play it safer after the bye? How he answers that could really define his whole tenure here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bear Report. We're proud to be your voice in Bears Nation. If you liked what you heard, hit follow and spread the word. More news, more takes, more grit, coming your way soon. Don't forget to follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, bear down.